First Contact's Price. Admiral Elena Santos stood at the bridge of the EFS Artemis, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched a holographic display. The blue-tinted projection showed 3 civilian mining vessels, now nothing more than debris fields scattered across the Protean system. 217 lives, extinguished in what should have been humanity's first peaceful contact with an alien civilization. "Play it again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. The AI complied, and the scene unfolded once more. The mining vessels, caught completely off guard, didn't even have time to raise their minimal defensive shields before the Valderi ships opened fire. The aliens had appeared from behind Procyon B's largest moon, their organic-looking vessels resembling predatory fish, sleek and deadly. The Valderi sent no warnings, no demands, Lieutenant Commander Chen reported, his fingers dancing across the tactical display. They simply attacked. Analysis suggests they expected the mining vessels to surrender immediately. Santos nodded slowly. The Valderi had made 3 critical mistakes. First, they had assumed human ships would behave like the vessels of other spacefaring races they had encountered, surrendering at the first sign of superior firepower. Second, they had underestimated humanity's response time. And third, most fatally, they had failed to understand what it meant to attack a species that had evolved as pursuit predators. "Status of the fleet?" Santos asked, though she already knew the answer. She wanted it on record. "Task Force Nemesis is assembled, Admiral. 27 warships, including the Artemis. All crews report ready. The new Thanatos-class dreadnoughts are awaiting your command." The Thanatos-class ships were humanity's latest achievement in space warfare. Unlike the elegant curved designs favored by most alien civilizations, these vessels were angular, brutalist structures of tungsten-titanium alloy and carbon lattice armor. They weren't built to look beautiful. They were built to endure. "Open fleet-wide channels," Santos ordered. The communications officer nodded, and she felt the weight of thousands of eyes upon her. "Men and women of the Earth fleet, you've all seen the footage. You've all read the reports. The Valdari Collective believes they can prey upon human civilians with impunity. They believe we will bow, submit, and join their collection of vassalized species." She paused, letting the anger in her voice resonate. They are about to learn why humanity's history books are filled with extinct predators. Throughout Earth's history, any creature that tried to hunt us found itself becoming the hunted. We didn't evolve from prey species that developed tools. We evolved as predators who mastered them. The tactical display updated, showing the position of Valdari forces. They had withdrawn to their closest military outpost, a massive space station orbiting a gas giant. Intelligence suggested they were waiting for reinforcements, confident in their superior numbers. The Valdari's official response to our diplomatic protest was, and I quote, "Lesser species have no right to refuse integration into the collective. They believe their technological advantage of a few hundred years makes them our superiors." Santos allowed herself a grim smile. "We're about to demonstrate why that's a dangerous assumption." The fleet's engines hummed to life, a deep resonance that seemed to match the heartbeat of every crew member. The Thanatos-class dreadnoughts moved into formation, their massive forms casting shadows across the smaller vessels. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent, but it wasn't just their weapons that made them fearsome. It was the human dedication to redundancy, to survival at all costs, that made these ships different from anything the Valdari had encountered. "Combat Eye online," Chen reported. All ships reporting green across the board. Targeting solutions plotted. Santos took one last look at the footage of the destroyed mining vessels. 217 civilians. 217 lives ended because the Valdari thought humans would make easy prey. She straightened her uniform. "Let's show them what happens when you corner a predator species." The fleet jumped into hyperspace with a precision that would have impressed even the most advanced alien civilizations. Humanity might be new to faster-than-light travel, but they had mastered warfare long before reaching the stars. The Valdari would learn, As so many Earth species had learned before them, that humans were not merely tool users or clever apes. They were persistent predators who had turned their evolutionary talents toward the stars. When threatened, they didn't flee. They pursued. When attacked, they didn't submit. They fought back with a ferocity that had earned their ancestors the title of apex predator on a world full of fearsome beasts. As the fleet emerged from hyperspace within strike range of the Valderi station, Santos sent one final message to the alien command. "This is Admiral Elena Santos of the Earth Fleet. You mistook our restraint for weakness, our civilization for softness, our technology for primitiveness. That mistake ends today. We are humanity. We are the apex predators of Earth. And now, the galaxy will understand why." The Valderi's response came quickly, filled with the usual threats and demands for submission. Santos didn't bother reading it all. Instead, she gave the order that would change the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. All ships, weapons free. Show them what it means to hunt the hunters. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Valderi's elegant ships, with their sophisticated energy weapons and shield systems, found themselves against vessels that seemed to ignore the conventional rules of space combat. Human ships didn't dance away from damage. They absorbed it, their redundant systems keeping them operational long past the point where any other species' vessels would have been destroyed. And they hit back. Hard. Railguns accelerated tungsten rounds to relativistic speeds, tearing through Valderi shields designed to deflect energy weapons. Missile swarms overwhelmed point defense systems with sheer numbers. The humans fought with a combination of brutal efficiency and innovative tactics that left the Valderi reeling. By the time the battle ended, the Valderi station was a broken hulk, its surviving crew evacuated to escape pods. The collective's mighty fleet lay in ruins, and humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in a way that could not be ignored. As Santos watched the rescue operations begin, because humans never left enemies to die in space, no matter their crimes, she reflected on the message this would send. Humanity wasn't interested in conquest or domination. They wouldn't hunt unless provoked. But when threatened, when their people were harmed, they would respond with all the terrifying efficiency that had made their species Earth's ultimate predator. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were not just another spacefaring race to be conquered or subjugated. They were the descendants of hunters who had chased their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, who had turned their predatory instincts toward innovation and exploration, and who would defend their people with unwavering determination. The age of assuming humanity would be easy prey was over. The era of the galaxy's apex predators had begun. The ripple effect. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with nervous energy. Representative Ixel of the Meridian Worlds watched the holographic replay for the 12th time, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated deep distress. The footage showed the aftermath of what was now being called the Battle of Procyon, a Valderi battle station reduced to ruins, their supposedly invincible fleet scattered across space like broken toys. The humans did this in their first major space battle. Asked Counselor Venn of the Synthetic Collective, their metallic voice carrying traces of what could only be described as awe. With technology centuries behind the Valderi. "That's what makes them so fascinating," replied Dr. Lyrat Van, the Confederation's leading xenoanthropologist. The blue-skinned scientist manipulated her display, bringing up biological data. Most spacefaring species evolved from prey animals. The Valderi from deep-sea filter feeders, the Meridians from herd grazers. Even the Synthetic Collective based their core programming on cooperative insect species. But humans, she paused, letting the implications sink in. They evolved as predators, Ixel finished, their crystal structure dimming slightly. We knew this, but we never understood what it meant until now. The assembly chamber fell silent as new footage began playing. Classified recordings from Valderi ships during the battle. The human vessels fought in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine. Where Valderi ships attempted elaborate maneuvers, the humans simply advanced, taking hits that should have crippled them, their layered armor and redundant systems allowing them to survive what would destroy any other species' vessels. The Valderi made a fundamental mistake, Dr. Tavan continued. They assumed technological superiority equated to military superiority. But they failed to understand that humans don't just use technology. They adapt it to enhance their natural predatory instincts. The debate that followed was heated. Some representatives argued for immediate diplomatic isolation of humanity. Others suggested forming military alliances before humans became too powerful to contain. The fear in the chamber was palpable. But it was Ambassador Krell of the Artaxian Republic who offered a different perspective. The ancient species, known for their wisdom, had remained silent until now. "You're all missing the point," Krell said, his weathered carapace reflecting the chamber's lights. "Look at what the humans did after their victory." He gestured, and the footage changed to show human rescue ships collecting Valderi survivors, providing medical care to their wounded enemies. These predators, as you call them, showed mercy. They didn't pursue the retreating Valderi fleet. They didn't bombard their colonies. They struck hard enough to send a message, then immediately switched to humanitarian aid. This isn't the behavior of mindless hunters. Dr. Tavan nodded enthusiastically. Ambassador Krell is correct. Human history is fascinating. Yes, they were pursuit predators, but they were also pack hunters. They developed complex social structures, art, music, philosophy. Their predatory nature is tempered by an equally strong drive to protect and nurture. In the following days, as the news spread across the galaxy, different species reacted in different ways. The Valderi Collective, once proud and aggressive, withdrew their forces from disputed territories. Their leadership, for the first time in their spacefaring history, sent diplomats instead of warships. The Meridian worlds, despite their initial fear, began quiet negotiations with human representatives. They recognized that having humanity as an ally would be far better than risking them as an enemy. The Synthetic Collective initiated massive studies of human military doctrine, their quantum processors struggling to understand the seemingly illogical yet devastatingly effective tactics. But it was the smaller, more vulnerable species that had the most surprising reaction. Many began reaching out to Earth, seeking protection agreements. They had seen in humanity something unique, a species capable of both terrible violence and extraordinary compassion. In her office on Earth, Admiral Santos received the reports with mixed feelings. The footage of the battle had been leaked deliberately, of course. Humanity needed the galaxy to understand their capabilities, to prevent another Procyon incident. But the fear they had inspired troubled her. "They think we're monsters," she said to her AI assistant, watching the feeds from various alien news networks. Some portrayed humans as bloodthirsty warriors, others as potential saviors. "Not monsters," the AI corrected. "Apex predators. There's a difference. The galaxy is beginning to understand that humanity can be both protector and warrior. The question is, which role will we be called upon to play next?" The answer came sooner than anyone expected. In the Carina Arm, a previously unknown species had begun attacking civilian shipping lanes. The Confederation's response had been bureaucratic, sluggish, bound by protocols and procedures. But when the attackers hit a human medical transport, the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how Earth's predators would respond. Admiral Santos stood once again on the bridge of the HFY Artemis, reviewing tactical data. This time, however, she wasn't alone. Representatives from 12 different species had requested to join the human fleet as observers. They wanted to see firsthand how humanity waged war. "Send word to the Confederation," she ordered. "Tell them humanity accepts the role of protector for any species requesting our aid. But also make it clear, we will do this our way." The message spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. Humanity, the apex predators of Earth, had declared themselves guardians of the galactic peace. Some celebrated, others trembled, but all understood one fundamental truth. The galaxy would never be the same again. As the human fleet prepared for its next mission, alien observers watched in fascination. They were about to witness firsthand why evolution had shaped humanity into the ultimate predators, not just through their ability to hunt, but through their unwavering determination to protect what they considered their own. And now, their pack had grown to include the entire galaxy. Predators' diplomacy. The Grand Embassy of Earth didn't look like any diplomatic facility the galaxy had ever seen. Unlike the swooping organic architecture favored by most species, the human diplomatic headquarters was a study in structured power. Towers of steel and diamond pane glass rose like ancient teeth against the Geneva skyline, their edges sharp and unapologetic. It was like everything humans built, a perfect blend of function and subtle intimidation. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the embassy's main hall, her steps echoing off marble floors. Beside her, the towering form of Exarthal, the Valderi's new chief diplomat, tried to match her pace. The former warrior species had learned much about humility in the months following the Procyon incident. "Your terms are unusual," Ambassador Chen, Exarthal said, his translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of his native speech. Most species would demand territory, resources, or technology as reparations. Chen smiled, a gesture that still made many alien species uncomfortable. They couldn't quite forget that on Earth, baring teeth had originally been a sign of aggression. "We're not most species, Ambassador. What we want is for the Valderi to join us in protecting the galaxy's trade routes." The proposal had sent shockwaves through the Valdari collective. Their entire civilization had been built on dominating weaker species, extracting tribute, and maintaining superiority. The idea of serving alongside humans as guardians was revolutionary. "You would trust us?" After Procyon? Exarthal's head frills rippled with confusion. Chen stopped at a massive window overlooking Lake Geneva. "Humans have a saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But we prefer to turn enemies into allies when possible. It's more efficient." The word hung in the air between them. Efficiency. It was something every species in the galaxy understood differently. For the Valderi, efficiency meant overwhelming force. For the Meridians, it meant perfect social harmony. But humans had turned efficiency into an art form of survival. "There's another human saying," Chen continued. "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." The threats gathering at the galaxy's edge concern us all. The swarm is coming, and they don't distinguish between our species. The mention of the swarm caused Exarthal's frills to flatten against his head. Everyone had heard the reports. A vast insectoid intelligence consuming everything in its path, approaching from the galactic core. The Confederation's predictive models gave them less than 5 years before first contact. "The swarm has devoured 12 civilizations more advanced than either of ours," Exarthal noted. "What makes you think we can stop them?" Chen's smile turned predatory. "Because those civilizations fought alone. They fought like prey, trying to hide or run. We're going to fight like predators." In the months that followed, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. Human diplomatic missions spread across known space, but they didn't operate like traditional diplomats. They didn't just talk, they acted. When pirates threatened Meridian trading posts, human Valdari joint patrols responded with overwhelming force. When a solar flare threatened to destroy a synthetic collective data hub, human ships arrived with advanced shielding technology. Every action sent the same message. Humanity's protection came with teeth. At the Galactic Confederation's emergency session, Dr. Tavan presented her latest findings. "What we're witnessing is fascinating," she explained to the assembled representatives. "Humans have adapted their predatory instincts into a form of protective diplomacy. They're establishing what they call the sphere of influence, but unlike traditional empires, they're doing it through mutual defense pacts." "They're building a pack," Ambassador Krell observed, his ancient eyes gleaming with understanding. "Like their ancestors who hunted in groups, they're creating a coalition of predator species." The evidence was clear. Under human guidance, the Valderi were rediscovering their own predatory roots, but channeling them into protection rather than conquest. The synthetic collective's war algorithms were being repurposed for defensive operations. Even the traditionally peaceful Meridians were developing their first dedicated defense fleet. In her office at the Grand Embassy, Chen reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. The transformation of the Valderi from conquerors to guardians was proceeding faster than expected. Their warriors, once dedicated to subjugation, were finding new purpose in defending weaker species. "The swarm won't expect this," she said to Admiral Santos, who was attending via hologram. "They're used to finding isolated civilizations, easy prey. Instead, they're going to find themselves facing a united front of predator species." Santos nodded, her hologram flickering slightly. "The latest war games are promising. The Valderi's experience with fleet operations combines well with our aggressive tactics, and the synthetic collective's processing power gives us predictive capabilities we never had before." "And the Meridians?" Chen asked. "Their crystal tech weapons are being integrated into our defense platforms. Turns out peaceful species can be quite creative when it comes to protection." Santos paused, her expression turning serious. "But the real test is coming. Our deep space probes have detected swarm scout ships at the edge of charted space." Chen walked to her window, watching the sunset paint Geneva's skies in shades of red. "Let them come. They think they're the galaxy's ultimate predators, consuming everything in their path. They've never encountered a united federation of hunter species." The next day, Chen addressed the Galactic Confederation. Her speech was brief, but it changed the course of galactic history. For too long, this galaxy has been divided between predator and prey species. But Earth's history teaches us something important. The most successful predators are those who protect their territories, their packs, their families. Today, humanity extends that protection to all species willing to stand with us. She paused, letting her words sink in. "The swarm believes they are invincible because they've never faced united resistance. They think they're the apex predators of space. We're going to show them how wrong they are. Earth stands ready to lead a coalition of species who refuse to be prey. Who will stand with us?" The response was overwhelming. Species that had once feared humanity's predatory nature now saw it as their best hope for survival. The Valderi, once despised as conquerors, were welcomed as guardians. A new order was emerging in the galaxy. As Chen left the Confederation chamber, Hexarthal fell into step beside her. "My people have a saying," the Valderi diplomat offered. "The strongest hunter knows when to share its kill." Chen laughed. "On Earth, we say strength in numbers." Different words, same principle. She looked at her alien colleague, ready to show the swarm what happens when they hunt the hunters. Hexarthal's head frills rippled with anticipation. The galaxy is about to learn why Earth's predators are now its greatest protectors. Behind them, the sun set on a galaxy transformed. The age of isolated species was ending. The era of the united hunters was about to begin, and the swarm was about to learn a harsh lesson about challenging a pack of apex predators. The hunt begins. The swarm arrived exactly as the synthetic collective had predicted. Through the Carina-Sagittarius gap, their bioorganic ships darkening the void like a cloud of locusts. But unlike their previous invasions, they didn't find scattered, isolated civilizations. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented. A united front of predator species, led by humanity. Admiral Santos stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned EFS Nemesis, Earth's most advanced warship. Around her, tactical displays showed the positions of the combined fleet. Human dreadnoughts flying alongside reformed Valdori warships, Meridian crystal ships glinting like stars, and the geometric precision of synthetic collective vessels. "Swarm vessels entering sensor range," reported Captain Riza Khan, his hand steady on the tactical interface. "Numbers are significant. Conservative estimate puts them at over 3,000 ships." Santos nodded, unsurprised. The swarm had never needed subtlety before. Their strategy had always been simple, overwhelming force. Status of the trap. All elements in position. Admiral. Valderi stealth ships report ready. Meridian weapon platforms are powered but dormant. Synthetic collective quantum networks are processing battle predictions. The plan they had developed was uniquely human in its conception, a combination of ambush predator tactics and persistence hunting on a galactic scale. The swarm was about to learn that they weren't the only species that knew how to hunt in large numbers. Send to all ships, Santos ordered. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. The battle began not with a dramatic charge or heroic last stand, but with patience, a trait that humanity had perfected over millions of years of evolution. The combined fleet held position, appearing to defend a cluster of seemingly vital systems. The swarm, accustomed to terror tactics, launched their standard overwhelming assault. They never saw the real attack coming. As the swarm committed their forces, quantum-linked gates activated behind their fleet. Valderi ships, their predatory designs now serving a protective purpose, emerged from stealth to cut off the swarm's retreat. Meridian crystal ships focused their energy weapons through specially designed amplification fields, turning space itself into a weapon. But it was humanity's contribution that proved decisive. The swarm's biological ships were virtually immune to conventional energy weapons, and their sheer numbers made traditional combat impossible. So humans had developed something new, specialized nanite weapons that turned the swarm's biological nature against them. Release the hunter-seekers, Santos commanded. From the combined fleet, swarms of tiny ships emerged, each carrying payloads of weaponized nanites designed to target the swarm's unique biology. Like microscopic predators, they sought out their prey with relentless efficiency. The swarm reacted with predictable fury, their ships trying to overwhelm the defenders through sheer numbers. But they had never faced an enemy that understood hive tactics better than they did. The synthetic collective's quantum processors predicted every movement, while Valderi warriors, who had spent centuries perfecting space combat, executed complex maneuvers with deadly precision. They're adapting, Khan reported, watching as the swarm ships began to change their patterns. Biological reconfiguration detected. Santos smiled grimly. As expected, signal the Meridians. Execute Phase 2. The crystal ships that had been holding position suddenly aligned in a complex geometric pattern. Energy coursed between them, creating a web of destructive force that caught the adapting swarm ships in mid-transformation. It was a tactic born from a unique cooperation between species, Meridian technology, synthetic collective calculations, and human strategic thinking. But the swarm hadn't consumed 12 civilizations by being easy to defeat. Their remaining ships began a new strategy, attempting to break through the containment zone and scatter across the sector. It was a tactic that had worked countless times before, allowing them to regroup and return in greater numbers. They're running, Khan observed, attempting to escape into deep space. Perfect, Santos replied. Signal all ships, begin the hunt. This was where humanity's true nature showed itself. Where other species might have celebrated the swarm's retreat, humans recognized it as the beginning of the real battle. They had evolved as persistence hunters, capable of pursuing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Now they would apply that same principle on a galactic scale. The combined fleet split into predefined hunting groups, each led by a human commander. They didn't need to destroy the entire swarm at once. They just needed to keep pursuing them, preventing them from regrouping, wearing them down ship by ship. All hunting groups report ready, Khan announced. The Valderi are particularly eager to begin the pursuit. Santos understood why. The Valderi, once convinced of their superiority, had learned humility from humanity. Now they had a chance to hunt alongside Earth's predators, to prove themselves worthy allies in the galaxy's greatest hunt. Over the next several weeks, the hunting groups tracked the scattered swarm vessels across multiple sectors. The synthetic collective's predictive algorithms helped anticipate their escape routes, Meridian sensor networks detected their attempts to hide in stellar phenomena. Valderi ships, designed for pursuit, kept pace with even the fastest swarm vessels. But it was the human commanders who coordinated it all, their innate understanding of predator-prey dynamics proving invaluable. They recognized patterns that even the synthetic collective's computers missed, the subtle signs of exhaustion in the swarm's movements, the desperate attempts to find safe harbor. Fascinating, Dr. Tavan commented during one of her briefings to the Confederation. The humans aren't just defeating the swarm, they're hunting them in the same way their ancestors hunted on the African savanna. They're demonstrating that space warfare, at its core, follows the same principles as any other form of predation. The swarm's defeat wasn't marked by a single decisive battle, but by a gradual, relentless elimination. Every time they tried to regroup, they found human-led forces waiting. Every attempt to establish new hive clusters was met with precise, coordinated attacks. It was a lesson in the difference between mere consumption and true predation. The swarm's defeat wasn't marked by a single decisive battle, but by a gradual, relentless elimination. Every time they tried to regroup, they found human-led forces waiting. Every attempt to establish new hive clusters was met with precise, coordinated attacks. It was a lesson in the difference between mere consumption and true predation. In her final report to Earth Command, Admiral Santos wrote, "The swarm failed to understand a fundamental truth about humanity. We didn't become Earth's apex predators through overwhelming force alone, but through adaptation, cooperation, and most importantly, persistence. In trying to consume the galaxy, they made themselves prey to something they couldn't comprehend, a species that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of the hunt. As the last swarm ships were cornered and neutralized, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented, a victory not just over a powerful enemy, but over the very concept of predation without purpose. Humanity had shown that being an apex predator meant more than just having the sharpest teeth or the strongest claws. It meant having the wisdom to know when to hunt, the strength to pursue, and the dedication to protect. The hunt was ending, but its implications were only beginning to ripple across the galaxy. Humanity had proven itself not just as warriors or diplomats, but as something more fundamental, the galaxy's apex predators, hunting not for dominance, but for peace. Legacy of Earth. A decade after the swarm's defeat, the Galactic Museum of Natural History unveiled its newest wing, Earth's Children. How Humanity Changed the Galaxy. Dr. Lyra Tavan stood before the gathered dignitaries, her blue skin shimmering under the museum's lights as she prepared to give the opening address. The exhibition hall behind her told humanity's story through a series of immersive displays. From the early persistence hunters of Africa to the space-faring civilization that had united the galaxy's predator species, each chapter of human history demonstrated a crucial truth. Evolution had created something unique in humans, predators who protected. 10 years ago, Tavan began, many of us feared humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. We saw their predatory nature and assumed it meant they would become conquerors. She gestured to a hologram showing the Battle of Procyon. We weren't entirely wrong about their nature, but we fundamentally misunderstood its purpose. Among the audience, Admiral Santos, now Supreme Commander of the Combined Defense Fleet, sat beside Exarthal and other representatives of the galaxy's former predator species. They had all learned to channel their aggressive instincts into protection rather than domination, following humanity's example. The human concept of the guardian predator has revolutionized our understanding of galactic civilization. Tavan continued. They showed us that being an apex predator isn't about consuming or dominating. It's about maintaining balance. The evidence of this transformation surrounded them. The museum itself was protected by a joint human-Valderi security force. Synthetic collective processors worked alongside human minds to predict and prevent conflicts before they began. Meridian crystal technology had been integrated with human designs to create defense systems that were both powerful and beautiful. Ambassador Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Confederation's High Council, watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The path from first contact to galactic leadership had been challenging, but humanity had maintained its core principles throughout. Protect the weak, hunt only threats, and always remember that strength comes from unity. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of humanity's influence, Tivan said, activating a new holographic display, is how they've taught us to understand our own evolutionary heritage. The display showed various species discovering their own forgotten predatory instincts, not to dominate but to protect. The Valdere had found pride in becoming guardians rather than conquerors. The synthetic collective had developed emotional responses that mirrored the protective instincts of human parents. Even the traditionally peaceful Meridians had discovered an inner strength they never knew they possessed. In orbit above the museum, the EFS Nemesis maintained its vigilant watch alongside ships from 24 species. The combined fleet had evolved into something unprecedented, a cooperative force of predator species working together to maintain peace. They called it the Guardian Fleet, and its very existence deterred most conflicts before they began. Humanity's greatest gift to us, Tivan continued, wasn't their technology or their military prowess. It was their understanding that being a predator species carries a responsibility. They showed us that the strongest hunters don't need to prove their strength through conquest. They prove it through protection. The exhibition included footage from the Swarm War, but it focused not on the destruction but on the cooperation between species. It showed human commanders working seamlessly with alien allies, sharing not just tactics, but a fundamental understanding of what it meant to be guardians of civilization. Admiral Santos rose to speak next, her uniform bearing the newly created insignia of the Guardian Fleet, a stylized Earth predator intertwined with symbols from all member species. When we first reached the stars, she began, we didn't know what role we would play in the galaxy. Our history as predators made many of us question whether we could ever truly be part of a peaceful civilization. She smiled at the assembled dignitaries. What we discovered was that the galaxy didn't need more peaceful species. It needed predators who understood the responsibility that came with their power. The results of this philosophy were evident throughout known space. The trade routes once preyed upon by pirates were now safe passages under the protection of joint patrols. Former conflict zones had been transformed into cooperative regions where different species worked together. The galaxy had discovered that the presence of protective predators created space for peace to flourish. Our ancestors were pursuit predators, Santos continued, who would chase their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We've maintained that persistence, but now we pursue different quarry. We chase after peace, after cooperation, after a future where strength serves protection rather than domination. In the decades since first contact, humanity had transformed from a potential threat into the galaxy's cornerstone species. They hadn't achieved this through conquest or technological superiority, but through their unique ability to transform predatory instincts into protective strengths. The Synthetic Collective's archives now contained a new theoretical framework, one that explained why humans had succeeded where other predator species had failed. They called it the Guardian-Predator Paradigm, the idea that true apex predators were those who protected their entire ecosystem, not just their own interests. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Tivan unveiled the exhibition's centerpiece, a massive holographic display showing Earth's evolutionary timeline. From the first humans who discovered they could outlast their prey through persistence hunting, to the spacefaring civilization that had united the galaxy's predators in defense of all species, the display told a story of predatory instincts refined and repurposed. The legacy of Earth, she concluded, is not just the story of one predator species reaching the stars. It's the story of how the galaxy learned that protection and predation are not opposing forces, but complementary aspects of natural law. Humanity showed us that the strongest hunters are those who use their strength to guard rather than devour. In the years that followed, this philosophy spread throughout known space. New species joining the galactic community no longer feared discovery by predator species. Instead, they found guardians ready to protect and guide them. The galaxy had entered a new era, one where the line between predator and prey had been replaced by a more fundamental distinction: those who protected and those who threatened. The human saying, "power comes with responsibility," had become a guiding principle for civilizations across the stars. Earth's children had grown into their role not just as apex predators, but as guardians of a galaxy that had learned to channel its ancient instincts into protection rather than predation. As the exhibition opened to the public, visitors from thousands of worlds came to understand how a species of pursuit predators from a small blue planet had transformed the galaxy's understanding of strength, power, and responsibility. They learned that true apex predators weren't those who consumed the most, but those who protected the best. The legacy of Earth had become the future of the galaxy, a future where the strongest hunters were those who chose to be guardians, where ancient predatory instincts served the cause of peace, and where the descendants of persistence hunters had found their greatest purpose in protecting the very civilization they had once feared would reject them. It was a legacy that would endure as long as the stars burned, the story of how humanity taught the galaxy that the greatest predators were those who chose to protect.